Guys, we're at Tanta. Astrid Gaston came out and made this burger for me. Little pro tip, those $10 piscos will really get your tab up there, but just get one of these bottles, okay? And pour in some juice and you're good for it. You got a drink that costs you $10, you can make for about 50 cents or $1 at the most. Welcome to Peru.
It's 2024, a lot of times past 2006. We can't live in the past, we gotta live in the present day. Now we're gonna put Peru to the test, but you know that Peru don't play. Number one.
Guys, is Lima a food capital of the world, or is it a scam?
We in the Amazon, Brazil and Mexico. Now we in Honduras, where next to go?
Hi everyone, this is Siggy International. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and watching this video. These are our long-awaited greatest food tips, recommendations, and rankings for how to eat in Lima and Peru. My team of experts and I spent 5 weeks eating out in Peruvian restaurants of all types and price levels. What I experienced in those 5 weeks left me in shock. So now in this video, we're going to show you which places to go to and which places to avoid. Guys, these food tips, recommendations, and rankings will help you to eat like an Incan god and will leave you feeling like Peru is a world food capital. But first, let's show you some of the more mid-level burgers. We also went to a place called Bimbo's, which is a Peruvian hamburger restaurant. It's like a Peruvian fast food chain, similar to McDonald's or Burger King before Peru. It originated in 1988 in Miraflores, Lima, Peru. I tried it for the first time in about 2016, about 8 years ago, and I did not find the burger to be very good, and it was specifically because of the problem that I mentioned with Latin American burgers, that the patty was not very good quality. The beef patty at Bimbo's is the perfect example of a mediocre, strange, tasting, textured Latin American burger patty. We tried it again in 2024 and it's still the same. It's still that just mediocre, kind of bad burger. As bad as the Bimbo's burger is, I probably would take a Bimbo's burger over the burger that I ate at Tanta. That's how bad the Tanta burger was. Guys, when you're in Lima or in Peru, make sure you look out for the lemonade with mint. Limonada con yerba buena, it's called in some places, and one place even called it an Arab lemonade or limonada árabe. It's a pretty common thing, I think, in Peru, but you probably haven't seen it a lot if you're used to getting juices in the United States. It's delicious and it's highly recommended. All of the best juices that we tried in Peru and in Lima will be mentioned and ranked in this video. These are some of the best juices I've ever had in my life, so stick around for that. It's coming up a little bit later in the video, sprinkled throughout the hamburger reviews. We had a lot of mediocre juices too, so make sure that you stick around in the video because you can't just get any juice in the city of Lima or in Peru. And even at the same restaurant sometimes, the same juice will turn out different on different days. Therefore, the number one ranked are the most consistent. This is from Don Bajadon. Don Bajadon actually has really good chicken wings. If you ever want an American style like sports bar chicken wing, go to the Don Bajadon and they have buffalo and barbecue. They were pretty good. But their burger was just kind of average, and the main problem was not the bread. The bread was amazing, all the condiments, the way that these guys cooked and constructed it was all perfect. The main problem is the restaurant itself has chosen to use a specific beef, and it is just not the best. It has that strangeness to it that you get in these Latin American burgers that just kind of leaves you feeling afterwards like you didn't eat the best meat. The burger at Don Bajadon, I believe, was about $7-8 or something like that. So it was a really expensive burger, and so it kind of shocked me that there was not very good meat inside of it, because I believe they can still make a decent profit, get some better meat in there, get a better ground beef blend, and do a better burger than that, because the guys cooked it up real nice. It's a beautiful burger, as you can see. Beautiful looking burger. The Burger King burger that we tried was much better than the McDonald's burger that we tried. Again, I wouldn't go back to either of them because you have such good food options in Peru for so cheap. It doesn't make any sense to eat at either of those two places, and you can get a taste of home, a taste of the best burgers and chicken wings and stuff in other places. We also tried KFC a couple times. Their hot wings were real nice, but they have really good chicken wings all over Peru. After trying the KFC in Peru, I don't really think there's a huge need to go.
Check the Peruvian chicken. Make sure the Peruvian chicken is good. See how the KFC is.
KFC can be like even better in foreign countries sometimes, and I didn't really detect much of a difference. The next burger that we tried was at a really famous place in Larco Mar, the most famous mall that hangs on the edge of a cliff. It's probably the most beautiful mall in the world, place to walk around. I really like Larco Mar, but the food options there sometimes are not that good. Let's start out with a place called Tanta in Larco Mar. The restaurant is called Tanta, and supposedly it's associated with, and guys correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but it's associated with a very famous Peruvian chef called Gaston, and I believe it's like sister or something, Astrid or something like that, or his family member. And so this guy, he seems really cool. He's done a lot for Peruvian food as far as getting the word out about it and sharing recipes, and I think that's super cool. But what I thought was shocking and not super cool was how kind of mediocre the food in Tanta was, including the hamburger, which is considered the worst burger that we had in our entire time in Peru. It was worse than Don Bajadon, worse than McDonald's.
Guys, I don't really like the burger that much. As I ate further into it, it had a bunch of like inedible fat pieces and stuff, and like real weird chewy stuff that I'm just not used to getting in a burger. And I don't like the bread. I don't like the bread that much. It's not as good as the other places. So, Tanta, thumbs down to your burger. But the other thing I had, lomo saltado wasn't too bad.
The bread that Tanta has chosen to use is not as good as the other hamburger buns that many other restaurants are using. I'm really shocked at the bread that they gave me for this hamburger. It was almost felt a little bit stale, just the way that it chewed and everything, and the way that it broke off. It was a really, really bad hamburger bun, but I don't even think it would have been good even if it was super fresh or whatever. Wasn't very good, lower quality beef in there, and there was 3 separate bites where I got something that was like inedible, like some tendon ligament fatty piece that I had to get out and just take it out of my mouth and like put it on the plate. That was 3 different bites in just one hamburger. So I've never had that happen in my life. This is the like worst hamburger that I've ever had. It costs too much money. I think it was like $10-12 or something like that. Definitely not worth it, and that just shows you right there, you cannot just go anywhere and get a burger, even at some of the most famous places. You have to know where to go. So Don Bajadon has defeated the mighty restaurant of Tanta of Gaston and Astrid in the hamburger contest. My recommendation to Gaston and Astrid, I really don't think it was the cook. I think it's something that the restaurant really needs to look into, making a really high-level burger. We have Rue, a restaurant that is called Rue. It's in Barranco. It is a nice little trendy restaurant near the Puente de Suspiros, the Bridge of Sighs. We tried the Rue burger, and it was actually really good. Now I'm going to show you Rue versus a place called La 73. La 73 is another restaurant in Barranco that has great food. We tried a burger there. It was an awesome burger. It's just under the #1 ranked burger though. So these 2 burgers at Rue and at La 73, anyone would probably be happy with them from the United States, but they did not take #1 ranking. We also tried a burger at the Ancestral Cafe, Cafe Ancestral. They have a nice little menu. All the food that I ate there, lomo saltado and the burger, was pretty good, and the prices are nice. So the burger at the cafe, just underneath La 73 as far as the ranking. It's just below La 73 and Rue, but for the money, it's nice. It's about $7 for the burger there. The burger at Rue costs about $10, and the burger at La 73 costs about, I think, $11 or $12. So the burger at Cafe Artisanal is significantly cheaper and still pretty good, so I probably would get it again. And you save a few dollars. You can also get yourself a coffee and a dessert, and then the total price comes out to like just what one burger would be at another place. Now for the #1 ranked burgers in all of Peru and the victorious restaurants. Right here we got 2 restaurants that actually tied, and they're going to be put in the competition for the #1 burger on the planet. The first restaurant is called Bone Beef. It's located in Miraflores, very near the border with Barranco, about 3 blocks from the Malecón. It's very well located, very easy to get to for any tourists. Almost all the tourists are staying in Miraflores and Barranco anyways. You could literally walk there.
Our #1 burger in Peru competition.
Bone Beef opened in 1984. It is a franchise, and there's some other locations supposedly around the city of Lima. This meat is Peruvian ground beef. The patty is very thick. The burger costs about $12, but guys, when you bite into this burger, the beefiness is unlike almost any burger I've ever had. It's extremely beefy, rich, and delicious. The bun was very good. I like the quality of the bun, fancy brioche type. We also ordered a coffee at Bone Beef, but we thought that the coffee was not very good, so we don't recommend getting a coffee at Bone Beef. It could have just been that day, or that cup, or maybe my taste buds were off. But guys, it was very bitter, and it was like the worst coffee that I had. Out of about 10 cups of coffee in my time in Peru, we're going to be giving you the #1 ranking for Peruvian coffee shops coming up in the next video with Peruvian desserts. But that's another big tip. Don't buy coffees at like a burger place unless it's going to be good. Wait until you go to a real coffee shop and get your coffee there. Places that specifically focus on coffee, you'll be a lot happier. Small coffees cost you about $2 or $3 right now in Peru.
Con mis amigos aquí de Bone Beef, el #1 rankeado hamburguesa en todo Perú y compitiendo para el #1 en toda Latinoamérica. Since 1984.
Congratulations to Bone Beef on taking the #1 spot in the Peruvian hamburger competition. But they actually have some competition. There's another restaurant down the street in Barranco, about a 15-minute walk away from Bone Beef. This is another franchise restaurant called La Cuadra de Salvador, or Salvador's Street Block. This is a really nice restaurant that focuses on a lot of imported American steaks. The price of these steaks is quite expensive, actually. I think I saw the tomahawk was about $100 for a tomahawk steak. And as you've seen in recent YouTube videos, in Paraguay, you can get a tomahawk steak for about $5 or $6 at the grocery store. So to see a tomahawk steak for $100, and there were some steaks that were even more than that. But what I was looking at on their menu were not the American steaks. I didn't come to Peru to eat American steaks that I get and eat every week in America. I'm sure these steaks at La Cuadra de Salvador are really good, but I do not like overpaying for American steak. So when I saw their menu and they had a hamburger on there for about $12, I decided to get it. And guys, I was pleasantly surprised. This is another amazing burger. The bread is perfect. The meat is perfect. It completely ties Bone Beef. And we are recommending that anyone go to both of these places and try both of these burgers and let me know what you think is the #1, because I'm just one person, I'm just one palate, and I want to know what other people consider the #1 ranked burger. Now that I've kind of put these tips out there, go and give them a try. They're not too expensive. Yeah, they cost a little bit more than some street burger, but guys, it is well worth it. The #1 ranked juices that we had, one of them is right here. This is Camu juice from La Cuadra de Salvador. I think it costs about $4. Really, really good. It has the flavor of pink lemonade almost, but better. Has a little bit of a different flavor to it. That's kind of like a fruit punchy tropical type thing. The pink color of it is awesome. And I've tried a couple other Camu juices, and this was the best one. The other Camu that I liked, that I had, was actually at Tanta, the place that made the horrible burger. But the Camu juice, which is also like $4 or $5 there, very good there. Another one of the #1 ranked juices that we tried is the first time that I've ever tried this mix of these two juices. It was at Rue, and it's a drink that I believe they call Rue Lemonade or Limonada Rue. It doesn't have any lemon or lime in it. It's maracuja passion fruit mixed half and half with Jamaica juice, that little hibiscus flower.
Okay, once you add the sugar, then it actually does taste pretty good. I was about to say don't get it, but then I put a package of sugar in it. Real good. It tastes like fruit punch. It tastes like a real good fruit punch. I don't even like Jamaica juice that much, but you add maracuja to it, now it tastes real good. That's the use for it right there. It's definitely the #1 juice that I've had so far in the country. It's the #1 ranked juice. I'm dropping a #1 ranking here.
There's nothing better on the planet. It is the best fruit punch flavor. Perfect way to use Jamaica juice or Flor de Jamaica. And it's 100% all natural, straight from the farms of Peru. The most consistently good strawberry juice that we had in Peru was at the Hotel Salvilayo. Their strawberry juice and their piña pineapple juice were amazing. They were really intense, and it was included as part of the free breakfast, so it just made it that much better. We tried the strawberry juice at Ayahuasca, which is a very famous restaurant in Barranco. One time it was really good, really intense, lots of strawberry flavor, and then the second time that I had it, it was very watery and it wasn't very good. But we also had a Peruvian ground cherry juice at Ayahuasca that was really intense. Tasted a lot like passion fruit, just a little bit different, but it was extremely intense. So they did a great job with that juice. I highly recommend going to Ayahuasca in Barranco if you want to try some good Peruvian food, especially lomo saltado. Ayahuasca is actually a place where a lot of the food tour groups will take tourists to try a lomo saltado. It's a little bit more expensive lomo saltado. The price of the lomo saltado is about $17, but we'll let you know how it ranks with all of the other lomo saltados coming up in the next video. I hope that you enjoyed this video about the best burger in Peru and some Peruvian food tips for the best juices and things like that. We'll have another one coming up for you in a couple days. Thank you so much for watching and for all the support, guys. Come to Peru. Try the foods that I'm going to recommend to you, and I think you'll leave Peru a very happy person. So there's many other reasons besides the food to come to Peru. It's one of my favorite places on earth and a place I want to continue to explore for many more decades. It's that big of a country, guys. It's going to take a long time to see it all. We hope you enjoyed the show, guys. See you in the next one.
And for $5, we got this natural juice called Camu.
Colombia,
Oh wow, that's real good. I like both. This one maybe feels a little more natural than the other one.
I think it's about time we put Peru to the test. It's 2020.
It's a really good fruit. I love Camu.
2006. We can't live in the past. We gotta live in the present day. Now we're gonna put Peru to the test. But you know that Peru don't play. We on the hunt for #1 in Peru, Colombia. We in the Amazon, Brazil, Mexico. Now we in Honduras. Where next to go? Keeping an eye out for the #1. Guess what? All the best cost about
The cherry moya too, for about $2. They're real big though. Gracias. Muchas gracias.
all the food.
Gracias. Okay, guys, got the cherry moya. So, ran out of money, so now we're gonna look for lunch.
Congratulations to Lima in Peru for passing the American hamburger and fruit juice test. Food capital of the world status is still intact. Up next, pollo a la brasa testing, lomo saltado testing, Peruvian dessert testing, and Peruvian coffee testing. If Peru can pass these simple tests, they will remain a food capital of the world.